While my taste in music is rather varied, it is in general quite mainstream. I've always loved bands like Pink Floyd, The Beatles and Dire Straits. As for more modern music, I do enjoy bands such as Muse and others. Yeah, I probably stopped listening to newer bands round about 10 years ago or so. Don't at me. But aside from taking musical influences from my parents, bands like the aforementioned Dire Straits, The Eagles, Beautiful South, there was a band that I listened to at quite a formative time in my life. That band is Liverpool Brit-Pop band Space. This video is not going to be an extensive deep dive of the band, as on researching for this video I realised that the band's history is rather labyrinthine and there are periods of the band's existence which could spread out into wild tangents that are beyond the scope of this video. So as not to inflate this video beyond all necessity, I will keep it as brief as I can. Well, you know me. Anyway, without further ado, I present a probably brief history and quick potted look at Space, the band you've heard of but won't remember where from. Space is the boundless three-dimensional extent in which objects and events have relative position and direction. In classical physics, physical space is often conceived in three linear dimensions, although modern physicists usually consider it, with time, to be a part of a boundless four-dimensional continuum known as space-time. The concept of space is considered to... Oh, fucking Wikipedia. Hang on. Oh, fucking hell, come on. Space is big. Really big. You just won't believe how vastly and hugely mind-bogglingly big it is. I mean... oh, hang on a sec. This isn't right either. Hold on. Found it. Forming in 1993, Space comprised of trio Tommy Scott, Jamie Murphy and Andy Parle, releasing their first 12-inch single at this time, If It's Real. The single's cover is of particular note, as it features a fortune fish on the cover with an insert displaying the band's potential feeling towards where this first step in this journey will take them, as if they were leaving their future to the wind, or plastic novelty. After signing with Gut Records, and being joined by new keyboardist Franny Griffiths, the band geared up to release their first album and put out the double A-side single Money and Kill Me, although they consider the next release, the dark comedic track Neighbourhood, to be their first proper single. Inspired by Tommy's council estate upbringing, the song depicts a collection of unusual characters counterpointed with the more relatable incidents, such as bailiff visits. However, notoriety wouldn't reach them until the release of their single Female of the Species in 1996. The song was a big hit for them and has been used in adverts, movies, and was the theme for popular comedy drama TV series Cold Feet in the UK. Their debut album, Spiders, released in 1996, went platinum in the UK and saw the addition of bassist Yorkie to the group. Spiders was critically acclaimed and is often placed on lists of the greatest albums of all time, selling 800,000 copies between 96 and 98. It peaked at number 5 on the UK albums chart. Spiders is a colourful mix and match of styles from the band, mixing rock and pop with techno, funk and a dash of hip-hop. Lyrically, the album is undeniably humorous or tongue-in-cheek, with tracks like the aforementioned Neighbourhood, and the fourth single from the album, Me and You versus the World, a comedic take on the Bonnie and Clyde trope of two lovers on a crime spree, although ultimately bungling a robbery and being killed trying to escape the law. Other more unusual influence on Tommy Scott's lyrics include Tarantino films, Looney Tune cartoons, with Tommy himself adding, and I make no apologies for this accent, "We'll never write ordinary songs. We're more likely to write, I met a girl, she's in love with me, so she poisoned me entire family." Also released in 1997 was Invasion of the Spiders, a collection of B-sides and remixes featured on the various single versions of tracks from the Spiders album. Highlights from this 2-disc set include the arguably superior version of Dark Clouds, Darker Clouds, and the comically spooky Children of the Night. A tour followed the release of the album and even took them to the States after the minor success of Female of the Species in the US. Personal problems meant Jamie Murphy was unable to accompany them on the tour, and the stress of the tour led to Tommy Scott worrying he might be losing his voice permanently. Fortunately though, both Scott and Murphy were able to recover enough to start work on their second album, Tin Planet. Tin Planet was a more focused collection of songs than their previous album, with a more consistent style, more pop and rock based than they had been known for. While this slight turn in their sound caused a little controversy among the fans, this didn't stop the album's success, surpassing the first and reaching number 3 in the UK. The slightly more mainstream sound had been looked back slightly unfavourably by the band. However, there are still some good solid tracks on there, such as the riotous anthem Avenging Angels, their highest ever charting single The Ballad of Tom Jones, which was a duet with Catatonia's Cerys Matthews, who the band had previously supported on their 1996 tour, and the hilarious and catchy A Little Bitty Help from Elvis. The album's artwork is a point of notoriety also, featuring an air-thick style sprue of household objects and found bits and pieces. Designed by Mike Badger, one of the original members of The Lars, yes, them, who had been working on an animated short film featuring an array of robots and aliens made from scrap or found objects. The proposed film's title, Tin Planet, was also utilised for the album, as the short never got completed. The final model that adorns the back cover of the album is named Bondman Robopop, and also featured in the TV promotional spots for the album, very slightly achieving Badger's proposed original plan, I guess, as well as featuring on the left-hand side of the screen for my streams for about 6 months, as a reminder to write this very video, the one you're watching now. Want to know how well that worked? That was back in late 2021. I'm saying these words in 2023. Their success in 1998 led them to a few other one-off releases, including contributing to the soundtrack album for the mediocre, but still worthy, Lost in Space movie, starring future ex-Top Gear presenter Joey from Friends, and Mulder's treacherous ex from The X-Files. Space were also one of the acts to form England United, alongside Echo and the Bunnymen, Ocean Colour Scene and the Spice Girls, a bewildering supergroup who released How Does It Feel to Be on Top of the World, England's official song for the 1998 World Cup, which can only be charitably described as the most literal use of the word astonishing ever. On a side note, that year also saw the release of Fat Les's anthemic and brilliant Vindaloo, and the first of many rewrites to Baddiel Skinner and the Lightning Seeds' Three Lions, also lyrically the best one in my opinion. So who knows why neither of those were picked? I don't understand the music industry. Additionally, they also released a cover of the Animals hit We've Got to Get Out of This Place, recorded for a car commercial, or an EP which featured amazing brass and strings remixes of Bad Days and The Unluckiest Man in the World from Tin Planet. Jumping slightly ahead for a moment, in 2000, Space also duetted, ironically, with Tom Jones, covering the Kinks' Sunny Afternoon for his Reload album, which also saw Jones duetting with Space's former duetting partner, Cerys Matthews, on a rambunctious and fantastic cover of the annoyingly controversial Baby It's Cold Outside. In 1999, the band returned to the studio to work on their next album, Love You More Than Football. From what I understand, that was a working title for the album, although there is a song on it called that. It was very, very close to completion, but after 2 years of studio hand-wringing and interference, coupled with Jamie Murphy's growing disillusion with the band, forcing him to leave in 2001, and Gut dropping them from the label, Space scrapped the album, rendering it, for 18 years anyway, a lost album, passed around as a bootleg CDR, one I definitely don't own a copy of, honest guff. No, seriously, I don't. Anymore. Love You More Than Football retained a degree of the more mainstream sound from Tin Planet, but, in my opinion anyway, also returned to some of the more dance and rock sounds from the first album. Highlights included the rocky, albeit slightly whingy and stalkerish, Diary of a Wimp, which was released as a single, the catchy Good Times, and the beautiful acoustic guitar and strings-led Gravity. also released as a promotional single. A couple of the tracks off Love You More Than Football were subsequently released on various greatest hits compilation in the coming years. In fact, I can remember rushing to buy Greatest Hits and Unheard Bits at a silly markup, owing to their inclusion, despite already having all of the other 12 or so tracks featured on it, either on their parent albums or the previous Greatest Hits collections. Now, not having a record label didn't stop Space from releasing new tracks, however, and between 2002 and 2003 released several tracks on their part official, part fan website under the title of Music for Aliens. The first duo of tracks, Straight Line and Nothing to Find Her, were initially given out as a free single to fans who attended a free gig at Liverpool's Unity Theatre in early 2002, before making it a free download a couple of months later. Following up with Year of the Underdog and Spooky Bitch in July and December of 2002, ending with The English Language and Now I'm History releasing in February and October of 2003. The English Language being an alternate version of a track which ultimately ended up on their future album, Suburban Rock and Roll. Music for Aliens, not being constrained by a record label to please, allowed Space to experiment and expand with their sound somewhat, resulting in a quintet of disparate sounds. Personal favourite of mine being the final track, the electronic lullaby, Now I'm History. Music for Aliens marked the band's effort to continue to release new material, and eventually, after wrangling with a couple of record labels and releasing the single Zombies on Collaborator's label, Mutant, Suburban Rock and Roll was released in 2004 after signing with R&M Records, to ultimately unfair mixed reviews. The album itself is a pretty darn good listen, featuring a more modern, mature style. Highlights include the aforementioned Zombies, a raucous guitar-led track, the introspective Quiet Beach and 20 Million Miles from Earth, and its dark, grim title track. A planned follow-up titled Flies was worked on, aiming for a 2005 release, with Space premiering some of their efforts at live shows in 2004, but was never released, and in 2005 the band decided to split. Space's members spread out and continued playing in various bands afterwards, details of which would extend the already ballooning runtime of this video to a degree of idiocy. And in 2009, original drummer Andy Parle sadly passed away of a heart attack. However, worth noting is Tommy Scott's next band, The Drellers, later becoming The Red Scare, releasing only one single, Violence is Art, in 2009 and recording one studio album which wouldn't see release until 2022. The band's lineup would later mostly become the revived Space. A reunion gig featuring original members Jamie Murphy and Franny Griffiths alongside Scott's Red Scare bandmates at Liverpool's O2 Academy in 2011 saw Space announcing plans to record a new album and a world tour. Eventually surfacing in 2014 after crowdfunding through website Pledge Music, the psychedelic ska-influenced album Attack of the Mutant 50-Foot Kebab was released, seeing a return to more character-focused lyrics and embracing a more absurdist, idiosyncratic tone. Tracks such as She's in Love with a Boy in a Body Bag, Crying on the Webcam and Fortune Teller stand out to me as particular brash statements of this new direction and sound for the band. And of course I love them. Following this, Space released a trio of standalone, as in not to promote a particular album, holdover singles, Strange World, Blow Up Doll and Dangerous Day between 2015 and 2017, showing a more basic approach to their sound, with Blow Up Doll paving the way for their next album being a more electronic 80s sounding track, although Dangerous Day's more Latin-inspired sound marks this out as a highlight. Following another round of crowdfunding from Pledge Music, Space released Give Me Your Future, initially as a giveaway for attendees to a 2017 Liverpool gig, but later made available for streaming in 2020. Give Me Your Future is a sci-fi inspired new wave and rock sound, teaming up with ex-Culture Club producer Steve Levine. it's by far the most mature offering to date, but retains the playfulness of some of their earlier work. The lamenting The Loneliest Robot and A Boy Like Me, as well as the only single from the album, Metropolis, being personal picks from it. Although Foreign Car, I Am the Insect and Killswitch keep up a more rocky pace without giving complete tonal whiplash. It bears pointing out that during this period and up to present day, Space tour and gig pretty consistently up and down the UK and around the world at times. But one particular appearance is worth mentioning, least of all because the full 40-minute set is available on their criminally undersubbed official YouTube channel, link below. That's their appearance at the 2017 Isle of Wight Festival, which featured amazing performances of their more well-known songs, including an awesome rendition of the Ballad of Tom Jones featuring Nancy from the up-and-coming all-female punk group Sex Pistols. I'll admit, it wasn't until this morning that I discovered that, owing to Tommy Scott's heavy Scouse accent in the video confusing me into thinking I'd heard Sex Pistols.
I'd like to introduce Nancy from the Sex Pistols. She's going to sing this song with me.
And just accepting that I'd misheard, not bothering to research it until today. In 2019, Space's first 5 albums were re-released, alongside a bonus disc of rare B-sides and the previously unreleased, officially, Love You More Than Football in an anthology box set. Their most recent offering, Music for Pleasure, Music for Pain, which released in 2021, is a confusing one. A lot of rap and hip-hop influences, which initially on first listen I wasn't overly keen on, but on repeated listens I've grown to appreciate much more. The rap influence is particularly noticeable on the album's opening track, The Benefits of Hypnotism, and the wonderfully quirkily titled Badass Hungry Pterodactyl. The album as a whole is a great lyric-driven experience, retaining Scott's penchant for humorous and catchy wordplay, as well as diversifying the band's sound even further. It has to be said of Space that no other band I can think of has covered or adopted the range of sounds, styles and genres as well, without compromising any of their original appeal. I've been a fan of and followed this band for as long as I can remember, Tin Planet being the first album I can remember ever buying for myself. And it's with that note that I'll point out that Space are currently touring to celebrate 25 years since that album's release. And looking at the reactions online, be it Twitter or their official Facebook group, the love is still strong. I hope for many more years of this band. Thanks for watching this by now probably sarcastically titled brief overview of the career of Space. This video was intended to be very brief, and as such there are many details, notes that I've glossed over or outright omitted. If you're interested in listening to more of the band's work, I have cobbled together a Spotify playlist of 50 of their most notable songs, which I'll link in the description below, and the pinned comment, as well as a few other links to space-related things, their Twitter, etc. If you have any memories of seeing the band in their Brit-Pop heyday, or you're like me and an avid fan, please leave a like or a comment on this video, or even share it amongst your friends who think you're a little weird for liking the band, to prove to them that you're not the only one. I will look forward to hearing from you all and sharing your love for Tommy and the boys. A quick thank you to my patrons, Inked and Pricked, Crunchy Karma, Little Ease, Kaz, Mess the Moose, Sasha M and Spoonie. I'm off for a lie down as this video has taken me all morning to write. A long, roughly 18-month morning. Peace out and peace off. Love you all.